Okay, so welcome everyone, and we're going to have another go at celebrating International GYN-ae Day. So show us your undies and all of your red for GYN-ae Day. So
My undies.
Thanks for coming and joining us at our Seroptis International Moreton North Inc. Business meeting with our special guest, Kath, who's going to give a presentation to us around all things under the hood, Kath. So I'm going to throw over to you and take it away and educate us about this day, but also, what it means and what we need to be aware of as women.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. Just 1 second, Tony. Okay, so for me to go to the next slide, I just go like that. Okay. All right. Yes, I really feel like I've found my niche with your organisation in Queensland there, because it's really hard or challenging to find women that can see the big picture of my work, particularly because I've had vulval cancer and, I've been pretty much ostracised. But I just feel as though you girls over there are very accepting of what I do and what I say. But I'm also open for, for new ways to move forward. So, so I want you to imagine in a new world, a world that we're open about these things. I went to a forum today where a professional woman
spoke. You seem to be cutting in and out.
Might be yours, Audrey.
Is it okay?
Perhaps if everyone else mutes, it'll cut down any intercepts.
Do we write? Okay, so I'm a member of the Royal College of London of Obstetrics and Gynaecology, and also the Royal Australian New Zealand College of Obstetrics and Gynaecology Consumer Network. So they, RANZCOG had their Women's Health Summit, and their opening remark was, we need a women's health revolution that starts today. And that's what I'm looking for all the Seroptimus clubs to help with that revolution. So imagine if we all came together and broke down those stigmas and barriers. So, and I know that it is happening, but it's not happening fast enough. I'm not getting any younger, and I just want to be able to see that things are progressing. But I do need to back off a little bit. So if I can share this with you, and you can help charge it forward in the best way that you can to help me with this. So we need to use the GYN-ae Awareness Day as a tool. So 32 years ago, I had an abnormal pap smear. I went off and had my cervix lasered. I went to 2 GPs and 2 gynecologists, and they said, oh, it's common to have lumps in the vulva. But my mum had breast cancer. She said it's not normal to have lumps anywhere. And I thought, well, what would you know, Mum, with all these experts? But I asked for it to be removed, and it turned out to be cancer. And I was telephoned when I was home by myself and told that it was actually cancer. I just couldn't believe that they would give me that news over the phone, but I think they realised that there were some mistakes made. But I'm not very good at expressing how sad and how devastating and how I don't know the words to describe. So let's just move on from that. And I'm happy for somebody to help me describe that in time. But in the meantime, I've seen women dying and suffering. Even a Seroptimus member died of vulval cancer. We all went to her funeral, and then we all got on with our business. But that's not the end of the story. So, I've got here, I had the physical pain and discomfort. I had body images, emotional trauma, relationship challenges, and isolation of lack of understanding, particularly by women. And when this lady spoke today, and she's read it all in a book, and she's an academic, and I thought, but I want to be there. I want to be the voice of the women. They're having these conditions, but it's like, but we don't do that. And I thought, well, we damn well should. We hear the breast cancer stories, and that's how they've moved on, and lots of funding. So now this is my family, and this is Tony. He's my rock. I would never have gone as far as I have without Tony. He's just unbelievable. But in my search after after my experience, I found we weren't able to connect up with other women because a gynaecologist said to me it would be too depressing for women. But I began to understand where the male mindset is with gynecology and the female mindset, where the females lack the power to even speak. So I coincidentally found this other lady, and it was just meeting up with her, and she had the full understanding. And unless this happens to you, you don't have that full understanding. So I remember I went to her place when we met up, and I remember she lifted her skirt and I lifted mine, and I thought, what the hell? So, but she's since moved on now. So if anybody wants to ask questions while I'm going through this, please pop in, all right? So in my search, I just felt like I was in the never. I was rejected by the women. The gynecologist had the control and power, and I discovered the word pudendum. And the Latin version of that word says, female genitalia, one who should and ought to be ashamed, the shameful part of a woman. So I thought, well, how do you live shame, you know? But I already knew I'd lived shame, and now I've got double shame. So I was given some brochures, the cancer brochures, and there was the ovaries, cervix, uterus, vagina, and no vulva. The vulva was cut off. And I thought, but how does this make sense? That, you know, what's the problem? So even today, I see some flyers and some research without the vulva in it. So I have to question, is the vulva part of reproductive health? But is the vulva part of gynecological health? I see a big difference between reproductive and gynecology. Sorry, I have to take this thing off. I'm getting a bit of a hot sweat here. 2 years after my operation, Tony, my husband, had 5 bypasses. So let's bring the men into the picture here. Let's say, you know, one of your family members has got polycystic ovaries, endometriosis, fibroids, prolapse, hysterectomy, menopause, and the men are out there thinking, what's this all about? And it can cause so many relationship issues. And even with domestic violence, you know, women can become very angst when they have these gynecological health problems, but it's still leaving the men in the dark to think she's just some crazy woman when really, in fact, she's got a gynecological health problem. So I put an ad in the Women's Day trying to find other women, and the stories the ladies wrote back to me, and I thought, well, what's going on here? So I went to the women's centres, but it's like only experts can talk about these things, and only the males can talk about these things. And so that's when I established GYN-ae, Gynaecological Awareness Information Network, in the year 2000. I'm a separate identity to them now, but they're doing some wonderful work to sort of progress with gynae health and research. So I still felt not satisfied. So I rang Senator Amanda Vanstone's office and I said, what can we do about this? We've got all the ladies' letters. It's all done behind the closed doors and we're not allowed to speak about these things. So their office suggested I create a national day. I said, but how do you do that? And she said, well, you just declare it. So that's why after that I declared an International Gynaecological Awareness Day, which is not official, but you know, let's make it official. Let's get the UN women at the top. Let's get the Seroptimists and the Zonta and the international women's organisations to have a close look at gynecology and the shame. Anyhow, getting about time here. So I love this picture on the left here because it's how I feel even today when I went to a forum. I still feel like this, even though I can sit here and talk about it. I still feel like, are they, you know, they just, I don't like that. I feel like I want to be accepted for what I do. And some women say, why is my vulva burning? And a lot of women's groups say, you can't ask that. That's too personal or too sensitive. And I think, but that doesn't help the women. So I found this statue. I went to the Norman Lindsay Gallery in New South Wales, and I thought, well, you know, I'd love to take it from the left to the right there, and that's why I'm asking Seroptimists to see how we can address this issue. So this is the brochure that we had years ago, and without the vulva. And I want you to imagine how I felt. See, it's not just about me, it's all the other women as well. So through GYN-ae, we sent a petition off to the government and had a Senate inquiry. And the recommendations came back, and guess what wasn't there? The vulva. I thought, oh my God, I embarrassed myself to go to Parliament and sit there and talk to these people. But even I said in my speech there that we're having a vulval awareness forum in Perth, and the gynaecologist spoke to me in the car park, and he said, Kath, can't you call it a Female Genital Awareness Day? He was just really, really sensitive about me using the word vulva. But you see, what we've got to do here is understand the history of why would that gynecologist say that, and why was he protecting us? We don't need protecting, we need the information. So the Understanding Cancer of the Vulva at New South Wales Cancer Council, we had a sexual health cancer forum in Perth, and it was so many thousands of dollars, and I couldn't afford to go, so I sneaked in. I remember walking up the stairs and I think, oh my God, am I going to go to jail for this? But there was a lady there, a doctor, and I said, we've got the brochures with no vulva on it. And so I went and spoke at New South Wales Cancer Council, and after that I said, how could anybody write a book about gynae cancers and not include the vulva? So I stand loud and proud, this is back in 2005, that Kendra was able to get a vulva diagram in their thing. And since then, quite often the vulva is included. So, I'm really proud of the work that I've done, but I'm not proud of the women that have died before me, because we had a 23-year-old die last year. We've had a lawyer die in Queensland of vulval cancer, horrific, horrible death. And then we had the seroptomist, Lynn Ellard, and you might say, oh, you can't say her name. I have permission to use her name. These women are saying to me, Kath, please share the message and the importance of vulvar health. So I designed this paper, this chatterbox paper, I call it a paper talk. But to me, that simplifies, we've got to get out to the community and speak the community language. These high-flying long words, it's like, it's too much for us to bear. But that is simplifying. It looks a bit confusing, but if you break it up, it looks a lot better. Oh, so these are the ladies that have died. There's Lynn Ellard. I've jumped the gun here. Lynn Ellard, she was amazing, done amazing work for seroptomists. This is the 23-year-old girl that died last year. Her parents are totally devastated, but she got married before she died. And these are some of the other ladies that have died since. And I feel like I'm left out in the never, never by myself, that, I'm fighting this, and yet these women are dying, and I am the voice of those women. So I'll just go back here. So in 2002, we had a Viva la Vulva forum at the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne. I was terrified of all these high-flying people, and I'm just your average woman in the community. But they had the Viva la Vulva forum, and I was very proud to be part of that team. But it seemed to fall in a hole after that, and I don't know why it did. So anyhow, I'm really proud of this picture on the left, because this is the quilt behind me that was made by the WA quilters. And I took it to England to show my son, because I was very proud of it. And a friend who's a sexologist in London, she said, bring the quilt into BBC TV and we'll see if we can be interviewed. And I thought, as if BBC TV is going to be interested in me from downtown Perth. But it turns out within a week, I was on Woman's Hour and scared out of my wits, but I did it. But that was the year I won the West Australian Senior Australian of the Year. So I came back to Perth and asked a community radio station if I could come on and speak. And they said their constituents wouldn't be interested in gynaecological health. Well, you don't speak to Kath Mazzella like that anymore. You slap me in the face and I will slap you back, because it's just not acceptable that we treat women this way. So this is a picture on the left, the female reproductive system. I even picked one of these up today from this health forum I went to. But that is a picture that my doctor, my GP, has on her desk. And I'm saying, but where's the vulva? Because she has to draw a diagram each time she wants to talk about the vulva. So I had been in touch with that organisation and asked whether they will put a vulva in, and they just, I don't think it's changed. So so we have to understand what it is that seroptimists can do to have a vulva included. So I love this one in the middle. I love this picture because, you know, I felt like I was sliced and diced and dumped. I think, what the hell just happened to me? But when I saw the nerve endings, the female pudendal nerve endings, apparently there's more nerves in a woman's vulva than there is a men's penis. So, you know, I began to understand about myself what happened, and this is what women need to look after. But this other picture there, the human anatomy, for years I approached a gynaecological cancer organisation if they would include a vulva. And so finally last year they put one in, but I feel like I'm a bother. You know, I feel like, you know, just I wish she'd go away. And as you can tell, I'm never going to go away. But last year we had this Gillian Anderson, a film star, and she walked on the catwalk with a vulva dress. You can't really see it, but if you go in close, you can see the vulva. But some of the media...
Excuse me, Kath.
Sure.
Just to actually further prove your point here, what is the vulva? Where is the vulva?
Well, the vulva is the external female genitalia. It is the labia majora and minor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's where the clitoris belongs. You see, because a lot of women think their clitoris is in the vagina, when clearly it's not. And the clitoris is such an important part of our body. But this diagram on the right, I found it recently, and still no vulva there. So, you know, get out of my way while I spread the word. So this is some of the diverse women that I've presented to, and this, the Muslim lady there, you know, I sort of gingerly walked up to her when I had a display. I was like, ooh, but she was so blown away with what I did and so open-minded. And I was always told, don't say those words, Aboriginal women or the ethnic women. I was always afraid to speak about them. But this one on the left at the Langford Women's thing, I did a speech there, and being told not to say those naughty words, I did say that I did the Viva la Vulva forum at the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne. And then when I went outside, they were doing their artwork. They put Viva la Vulva around the hands, and I said, oh, you can't do that. I thought, oh my God, I was scared the whole time when I was going to upset. But I did a presentation there another few years ago, and there is this artwork sitting pride and place there. And I think, whoa, you know. And then I did another presentation where Julianne Wade, which this art was supposed to be launched at King Edward today, but the artist wasn't able to make it. But I just love this, and they're going to hang it up in the hospital somewhere. So I stand loud and proud there. So here's some of the seroptimists. Some of the leaders say, well, you know, and then they get out there and we flash these knickers, and some are saying, oh, you can't do that. And I think, but we have to open the doors. We have to sort of be more open about these things, because you're going to have a lot of fun with gynecology. My physio, she made up some sashes with the Miss Ovaries, Miss Vulva, Miss Vagina, and we'd say, yeah, here's Miss Vulva, here's Miss Vagina, and wear the red knicker, red tutus and things like that. But some say, oh, you can't do that. And I'm saying, well, you just watch me. You just watch me. So this was when I presented in it's Seroptimist International in 2019, which I was very proud to go there. And I had the knickers there, and I showed it to one African woman, and she's a young woman, and she said, oh, this is funny, it's really good. And I said, oh, would you like to take this? She said, oh, no, our leaders wouldn't let us do that. And, you know, so this is what we have to look at, the leaders, who is restricting some of these things and how we can move forward. And I understand these cultural issues. But I must confess, in 2013, the top picture, Seroptimist sponsored me to go to KL. So off I go, but there was nothing gynecology. And there was a gynecologist that he was talking about cervical cancer. But I came back with a tail between my legs and felt like I failed because I had nothing to offer the seroptomist. You paid for me to go there, and there was nothing gynecology there. But again, it's about the history, you know. So these are just some of the organisations. I'm very proud to say that Amber Jade Sanderson, she was supposed to speak in Parliament House today. I haven't heard that. I am a investigative associate for Dr. Tracy DeCipio at Queensland University, and because most of you are from Queensland, it'd be great for you to understand a bit more and support her a bit more. Rand's called King Edward Hospital today, the Women's and Children's Healthcare Australasia, to how I got that. I presented to them in 2012. I was going through my emails recently and I thought, I wonder if that CEO is still there. So I contacted her straight away. She said, yeah, we'll support the day, Kath. Oh my God, you know, people are coming to the forefront. So there's Seroptimist Morton and the Seroptimist in Albany. The Seroptimist in Albany for many years had the knickers in their libraries. So I'm just giving you ideas of how you might be able to move forward. And the Women's Health Network Australia, I'm really, really pleased to, I'll be presenting for them tomorrow. You might be able to give me some tips, Cheryl, whether I go on too much or what's best to say. But, you know, these are big organisations that can really make a difference. So I had an interview with the Honourable Jocelyn Scutt, who is a human rights barrister in England, and she interviewed me, and she's even said today that they're trying to push it forward to the United Nations. But unless the UN women's groups get behind it, it's always going to sit there. So I just spoke with the Sexual Health and Bloodborne Viruses at the Aboriginal Health Council, and I'm really proud that Professor Ruth Stewart, she's a former GP and she was the National Rural Health Commissioner, and she's got a video that I think I've sent to you. But the thing is, I put things out on social media, and it just seems to me like it just disappears. So we need some support like that. Is everyone all right? Are we going okay? Yeah. So Pants Cancer's Jeanette Preston in England, she's a nurse, a gynae cancer survivor and a Methodist preacher. And we've both twice gone to the Royal College in London asking about the Gynae Awareness Day. But unless the women's groups get behind it, it's still just going to sit there. And I just presented a Rotary Tarid in New South Wales, she was a gynaecologist, and she was keen to sort of get the message out and talk about vulval health issues. So the tribal women dancers have always helped, and ZBP physio. I'd like to get more physios behind this as well. So King Edward Hospital staff are wearing the vulva socks, which I am the Australian Gynaecological Cancer Foundation ambassador, and they're pushing for vulval health there as well. So, you know, it's really interesting to see how things are going. I'll just bypass that. This is some of the seroptimist groups that I presented at. I went to seroptimists in London and Maylands and Albany, and the regional meeting here in WA and South Perth, and sorry, I'm getting tired. So the World Rural Women's Day. So maybe seroptimists can work around how would they support things for women in the country. I've already passed that one. I will talk. Sorry.
I just wanted to just check, like, whether we could maybe shift to some questions. Have you?
Yeah, sure. I'd love that.
If you've got a few more things to cover, so so there's a lot. There's a few things questions that are coming up for me. So when we talk about gynae health, is there anyone that has a collective? What I'm gleaning from what you're saying is much of your advocacy and campaigning has been about the inclusion of the vulva inside of existing gynecological education and health tools and educational tools, etc. So that's one big part of it for you that has been the push of actually getting that included. And, thanks, Stacey, for your really brave question, because you know, you're like, oh, I have a vulva, I'm a female, but I don't really know what you mean by that. So even being able to just openly talk about it is one big bit. So that's the key bit that I have taken away from the conversation today, is that advocating for a more complete and holistic representation of the entire female reproductive and add-ons. You know, the fact that you've said that you know, our vulva has more nerve endings than the penis does, that kind of puts it in perspective. And when you realize that we're including the clitoris in that anatomy, that explains a lot of the reason why that would be the case. So there's that piece. And then I guess my question as well is, how do we then, you know, there's ovarian cancer, there's uterine, there's polycystic ovaries, there's all of these broader, you know, women's health issues that are directly related to our reproductive system and the surrounding organs. One of the things and the frustrations I have about modern medicine is we separate everything. We slice and dice, as you said, we slice and dice the body up into various bits and pieces and parts, and we have, you know, a breast cancer one, an ovarian cancer one, a cervical cancer one. You know, why are we separating and splitting them out? Why don't we have all of it together? Why aren't we pooling our resources? Why aren't we collectively, you know, putting everything in one basket around the broader women's reproductive and sexual health, and, you know, cancer research and education and training, etc. That's for me the frustration. I think I'm hearing you know, aside from that, the one element of the vulva piece, it's that much broader. You know, and I'm thinking about our Soroptimist sisters in Aotearoa that are doing a huge bunch of advocacy on the ovarian cancer front, and the projects that they're running there. And that's excellent work. And, you know, it doesn't, you know, it's still only one part, I guess, is my point. So I'm keen to get your perspective on the fact that it's so segregated and so separate.
And that's why it's the ultimate dream of the International GYN-ae Awareness Day. So that RANZCOG in England and Royal College here, and even in America, we put it all under one umbrella, and then we can sort of, you know, and I know it's very complex and there is all different areas, but it does get lost in the end. You think, well, they're doing ovarian, and in the end I think, well, it's too hard. So if we made it simple, and we had the GYN-ae Awareness Day, and we got some funding into that, and we made it fun, well, then more women will support funding, you know, putting money towards GYN-ae Awareness Day, and let's have some entertainment, and let's make it fun. But in the meantime, we've got ovarian, well, that's a bit scary, and then we've got this, that's a bit scary, and that's, you know, it seems to me like it's a mishmash, and the more we can bring it together, but, you know, whether that will happen in my lifetime, but that's the ultimate dream. So I can hear what you're saying, Fiona.
Yeah, and Stacey's just added to the chat there that obviously last week was Women's Health Week, and so yeah, I think there's a much broader piece around, I guess, the broader women's health process, but then the specific things that are unique to females because of the the systems that we have, that we're born with, that make it even more unique. I
mean, I was a Jean Howe's Women's Health Champion a couple of years ago, and it does encumbrance lots of other things, but I think we need to condense it down for the GYN-ae Awareness Day. First of all, to get rid of the stigma and the shame, you know, and even if you have ovarian cancer or whatever, you know, there's still this certain stigma, you know, but if we could rejoice and celebrate and think, wow, you know, this is fantastic, I'm going towards the GYN-ae Awareness Day, we have a fashion parade, or we have a entertainment, we're just breaking down the thousands of years of social programming that, you know, it's not a nice topic. Because even calling it reproductive health, to me, that's about having babies and contraception and abortion. But gynecology it's a whole different sphere of women's health. And but if the shame factor is still there, let's break the shame and then let's move forward with it.
I have a heap more questions, but I want to actually throw it open to the group. If you're wanting to ask Kath a question, please unmute and do that, or you can also use the chat to type your question in, and I'll happily ask it of Kath on your behalf. Don't leave us hanging, ladies. What do you got for us?
Hi,
Talk to us.
hi,
There you are.
Kath.
Hey, Kellyanne.
Hi, Kat.
Hi.
I can understand that shame that to talk about all of these things. It's even more harder in my country, in Papua
Yes.
New Guinea, because of the taboos that we have to speak about these things. Like we just had one of our members here going through a full operation because she had cervix cancer. Our interim president from APRIC, and I kind of getting to see it's a very big thing. What can I I've learned a lot through her journey as well, getting to know the symptoms for cervix cancer, ovarian cancer, and all that. What would be one of the symptoms that if I'm talking to another woman in Papua New Guinea that could tell me that she has vulvar cancer?
Great question.
Yeah, it breaks my heart when I hear that, because when I was a Jean House Women's Champion, I discovered that 1 in 80 women have got lichen sclerosis, which is an irritation of the vulva. But I spoke to the vulva expert today, and she said sometimes you have to wait 9 months. And so you're walking around with your vulva walking like this. You could just imagine, you know, what these women are going through. But I wanted to ask you, Kellyanne, you know, with your women's groups, is it okay for you to do the knickers campaign, do the cardboard cutout knickers in one of your forums?
It would draw a lot of different criticism in
Okay, I'd
Papua
love
New
to
Guinea because
know.
it's like a taboo. Yeah.
Okay, so what sort of criticism do you think you would get?
Because at the moment, the most spoken and most made aware of the cancers are the breast cancer, the cervical cancer, the ovarian cancer, and I think that's more or less like it, and that's it. And I kind of believe a lot of women are dying from vulvar cancer without it being detected.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to understand what I could learn from your journey. What would be the symptoms? What would be some of the other things that lead up to having a vulvar cancer? Because at the moment, it's if they're having a lot of bleeding, they get checked, a biopsy done, and then it's confirmed a cervix cancer. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
We still have that long journey in Papua New Guinea to go through for women with having gynecology issues here. So I'm just trying to understand.
So, Kath,
Because I think
one of your symptoms, Kath, was lumps. And I
Yeah,
guess Kellyanne's question is, do you wait until you develop lumps, or are there other symptoms before that, that if you're aware of those symptoms, someone like Kellyanne in a trusted, safe conversation one-on-one with her ladies could talk about it and ask about those symptoms? Is that what you were getting at, Kellyanne?
yes, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay, so if lichen sclerosis is so common, and there is a lot of research that's being done around it now, but a lot of doctors are not educated enough to understand it, and often the women are being treated with thrush. Oh, it's an irritation, so it's thrush. But, you know, it's, yeah.
So what is, Kath, what is lichen sclerosis?
Sclerosis.
So is it like a rash of the lips?
Yeah,
or?
But I think when it gets really bad, the only way I've heard it described, it's like a cauliflower growth. It's like a white growth. But I believe that if it's treated correctly, I mean, I'm not recommending any creams, but if it's treated in the first place, well, then it can perhaps be protected. But the longer we leave it and the more shame that we live with because you've got to, you know, show your vulva, you know, the worse it can become. And if we could just talk about these things, but I was just wondering, Kellyanne, if, how would it be if I had a chat with your group? Is my work too confronting for yours?
Yes, it would be in a way, because I think with Papua New Guinea women, the first and the foremost thing that even our club is trying to combat is sanitation. It's getting them good water, getting them to have
Yes.
that
Oh, that's
bath
right.
regularly 2-3 times a day. That
Yeah.
this is one of the contributing factors. Why I'm saying that I think a lot of doctors in our countries are not made aware of that, and they still more treating it more or less as a cyst or just like a lump, and they're saying it's something else, and they're giving it and just antibiotics to
Yeah.
make it go away, because they're more looking into cervical cancer,
Yeah.
uterus cancer,
Yeah.
ovarian cancer. So
Yeah.
they're missing that, and a lot of Papua women are suffering from poor sanitation, good sanitation, and are developing this more, because I've seen that whilst walking through with Terry on a journey, that a lot more women are having this, and we were just discussing whilst in the hospital, and I kind of feel that there's a missing link. So it's a very good thing that you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So things to look for, Kath, and I mean, you know, Kylie-Anne's asked the question for her ladies that I think, you know, regardless of where we are in the world, and even, you know, I've got nieces and you know, we've got daughters and you know, so, and if even for ourselves, like, so things that we're looking for in our own, you know, we're all educated and taught to check our breasts, and you know, you feel for lumps and things like that. So for vulva, you know, is it changes in color? Is it changes in, you know, how the skin feels? There could be a change to the lumps, etc. But it's, you know, what are the things that we need to be on the lookout for as, you know, potential either precancerous or potential changes in that area, so that we can do our own self checks and then be able to go to our gynecologist or doctor and advocate for ourselves to go, I need these checks because I think this is what's going on. I think that would be an empowering thing as well.
Absolutely. And it's learning the language to use it and the confidence to say, oh, look, I've got an irritation in my vulva. Could you please check it? Because quite often doctors don't particularly like checking because of litigation and things like that. And that's where we need to be empowered with the knowledge and the understanding. And I was going to say something, but it's gone now. I'm also interested in precancer. So I've got the statistics here in Australia, 543 new cases and 135 deaths. But if one of those deaths is your mother, sister or daughter, you know, it's devastating, but, you know, it's like, well, that's not many. But I'm interested in the precancer conditions where with the irritation or the lump, and then they treat it for thrush and it goes on for months on end, that then they just chop a little bit out and think, oh, well, it's just a precancer. But you chop one tiny weeny bit out of the vulva, it can be really devastating. But I just wanted to talk about this picture that we've got here. I've seen some creams that say rub on your vagina, but not for internal use. Well, we need to stop the dumbing down because it's confusing. Do we put it on here? Do we put it on there? But I'm just wondering how we're going for time here. Are we over time?
We're getting close to coming up to time.
Okay. I'll just whiz through here. Let's see, just whiz through here. All the socks, and these are the knickers that we have. That I have, and you just decorate the knickers and it's got all the gynecological anatomy under there. And I just sort of think it's a fun, novel way for people to start the conversations. I'm coming to the end. Let's have a look here. Okay. Can I ask you all to stand up? This in closing, can I ask you all to stand up? And we're going to say the Dynamite chant, which I think is a fun thing. So let's all read it together. I'll go back a little bit further. I'll just show you my knickers too. I've got my red knickers on down here. Right. So 1, 2, 3. Ladies to the left. Ladies to the right.
To the right.
Don't forget
Don't forget
Dynamite.
your Dynamite.
Now is the chance
The chance
to
discuss what's in your
pants.
Sharing is healing.
Tell us
Tell
what
us what you are feeling.
we care
a lot.
So spread
The cheer
to
look after what's
down here.
And here
We are here
to raise a cheer.
so
don't forget
your
your pap smear.
Shake it, shake it,
Shake
shake
it,
it.
shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
Here,
There we go.
raise a cheer. So don't forget your pap smear. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
And on that note, Viva la Vulva to you all.
Yes, happy birthday and Viva la Vulva to you too, Kath.
Okay.
One of the things that we're working on with shining a light on invisible illnesses is women's gynae health, and in particular vulva cancer. And Kath and I are working on just 10 simple questions that women, when they go to their doctor, can have a conversation about that. Because part of the problem too, Kath, is if they are diagnosed, trying to get an appointment with a gynaecologist is not very easy, and there can be some lengthy delays in that happening as well.
Yeah. We need to demand better.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I'll have to get going, but I'd like any feedback, and I look forward to presenting to the Women's Network Australia tomorrow morning.
Beautiful. Amazing. Thanks, Kath. Keep on doing it. Keep on trucking.
All right. Thank you. See you all
Okay.
later. Bye.
Bye.